Hello, everybody. This is Gary. Today is Monday, September 23rd, 2019. It's 12:42 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the United States in Rochester, New York. And this is my coping with schizophrenia vlog entry for today. What I wanted to talk about today is the news. Whether you get it from mainstream media like Fox News or CNN or MSNBC, or you get it from places like YouTube, Facebook, social media in general. One of the things that I've noticed is that if you pay too much attention to the news, I mean, if that's all you're doing all day is watching different news channels or news sources on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or the mainstream media, mainstream media meaning the news outlets that don't necessarily uh, have their main content in social media, like I said, CNN, Fox, MSNBC. Um, One of the problems of watching too much news is that it's stressful. I mean, American politics right now are very divisive. There's a huge conflict between the far left and the far right. And just taking all that in, because some of it borderlines on being violent or is violent when you get a mass shooting. Um, I think people who are mentally ill shouldn't ignore current events and ignore the news because those things will ultimately affect you. If, for example, you didn't want Donald Trump to be president and he became president, that obviously affects you negatively. So it does have something to do with you. Um, so, regardless of whether you're left or right or center, my advice, if you're mentally ill, is watch the amount of news that you're taking in. In other words, cut back on it. If you're watching the news 6 hours a day, like I sometimes make that mistake, you're going to feel stressed, you're going to feel upset, you're going to feel angry, regardless if it's far left or the far right or the political center. When you hear news, you might get upset, you might get twisted by anger, and it's important to limit the amount of news you expose yourself to. My advice is stick to knowing the headlines, get a quick understanding of what a news story is saying, and say, I don't know, 2 hours or an hour of watching news a day, and just limiting it to that, and leave the rest of the day for something else. Your everyday life, your family, your friends, your medications, your social support, your psychiatrist. Um, Limit the amount of news you're taking in, whether it's from social media like Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. I use Twitter myself. There are some pretty extreme politics going on in Twitter, both far left and far right. And by their very nature, they can upset people who hold certain views. Um, I personally consider myself to be in the political center, and I tend to get upset when the far right or the far left brings up divisive ideas and techniques, and our country's more divided because of it. That makes me angry, that makes me anxious. But again, I limit the amount of news I watch. I've made the mistake of watching too much of it and getting caught up in it. Um, I'm not a violent person. I'm not going to pick up a gun and shoot 30 people or even one person. I don't have a record like that, and I'm certainly not going to start. So when I'm angry, I try meditation. I limit the amount of news I watch to about an hour a day. Um, I get outside and exercise. I talk to people about things other than the news, other than Donald Trump. Um, I go out for breakfast and dinner and with my friends, and uh, on some level, you have to be able to balance your own political views and actions with your everyday private life that you live. Um, I guess I'm sort of rambling here. Suffice it to say, watch the amount of news you're taking in. Don't necessarily ignore current affairs, but limit the amount of news you watch and live other parts of your life fully. Exercise, get friends, fall in love, go to college, have kids. Um, don't let the news interrupt your personal life, and certainly don't act out violently on your feelings. Comments, suggestions, share, like, and that's about it for today.